All right, we got ourselves a new Explore With Us video. Teen killer realizes every shocking word was recorded. Let's check it out.
The courtroom clips you're witnessing show the moment the defendant takes the stand.
It looked like there were goblins, a lot of them, green, ugly little creatures. I would never heard them, not even the hair on his freaking little head.
As bizarre as his statements
Okay.
are, the shocking exclusive interrogation footage we obtained reveals
Goblins.
even more chilling comments and outlandish stories behind the tragic death of a 5-year-old.
Oh God.
Stop blaming me for murdering. Hey, nobody said anything.
This guy sounds a little stupid. He sounds like he might be held back a little bit in school.
That's what it basically sounds like. I'm not a killer. You really don't know what I know, huh? Okay. Let's see how it is. I won't tell you anything else now. Well, guess what? I'm not telling you anything else. I don't like recorders. I'm not much of a media
I don't like the
person.
recorder.
Thank you very much.
This guy's
This
weird.
is 17-year-old
Oh,
Cody
no.
Metzger Madsen.
This guy's cringe.
He's in an interrogation following the death of his 5-year-old foster brother, Dominic Elkins. In about 3 seconds, you'll hear him say some of the most bizarre things we've ever heard in an interrogation room.
Yeah.
There was an ice cream cone side bug, though, that was kind of weird.
Cybug?
It looks exactly like an ice cream
Cybug. Wait, that sounds.
cone. Yet I do not
What?
understand. It takes aim, and it shoots. I basically had to go through a lot of ice cream to get through. I had to do ground smash, punching.
You talk about a video game?
Anything you say will be can and will be used against you in the court of law. I've read that actually on Batman before.
Wow.
One time when I went on in the ravine on my own, I also saw the same cloaked figure, except inside the ravine. And there was also a gun down there. Had bullets. I don't know who he is or where he came from, but I think he hurt Dominic. I hate that cloaked figure, whoever he is. I hate him for killing Dominic.
On August 31st, 2013,
Why'd he kill
it was
his-
a sleepy Saturday
Is it his brother
afternoon
that he
when
killed?
foster parents Don and Julie Kuhlman would receive the most concerning news a parent can ever receive. One of their children, Dominic Elkins, had run off after being injured and was now missing. The mystery behind what happened to Dominic on this tragic afternoon will unravel to reveal lies. Nothing in this shocking case is quite as it seems. Dominic Elkins, 5 years old at the time of this disturbing phone call, was being fostered by longtime specialized foster parents, Julie and Don Kuhlman, in the tiny town of Logan, Iowa.
Oh God, foster parents.
The little boy had only been with the family for a few weeks by this point, but he had seemingly been getting along well with the rest of the family,
Oh, okay, sure.
particularly with the other foster boys who were in the home at the time. On the afternoon of August 31st, 2013, after a morning of waffles and a day spent in the pool, the family had split off, with the father, Don, heading off into town with his friend to meet with his brother for dinner, and the mother, Julie, taking her eldest daughter, Rachel, and her friend, Dylan, into town for ice cream. The rest of the kids, Rachel's 12-year-old twin sister, Rebecca, the eldest foster boy, Cody, who was 17, and little Dominic, who was 5, all tired from the swim that day, opted to
so
stay
sad,
home
dude.
and relax. Ben, the third foster boy in the home, was on a home visit that weekend and wouldn't be at the Kuhlman's farm during the weekend in question.
No pictures of Ben?
Everything seemed peaceful and serene that day. But as Rachel Kuhlman explains in this exclusive present-day interview, this peace was soon shattered.
We lived out in the country, but it was like 5 minutes or so to get to the little country store to get ice cream. We left my sister, who was going to be like in charge just to keep an eye on the kids. And then it was
Wait.
Dominic and Cody. And we stopped at the front of the property on our way back to
This is the foster mom?
chat with my aunt, my grandparents, my aunt and uncles all live on the same 20-acre plot of property. And my mom
Oh, she has a computer set up in the back. It's kind of cool. Mechanical keyboard.
received a
Got a
phone
microphone.
call from my
Maybe she
sister
streams.
saying that Dominic was missing and that we didn't know where he was. Cody was freaking out. He's saying, we don't know where Dominic is. And she wanted us to come home. My mom wrapped up her conversation really quick, and we got back in the car. We went home.
Apparently, shortly after Julie and the other two children left, Cody and Dominic headed out to play together in the backyard as they had done countless times before, while Rebecca curled up on the couch with a book in the living room. Everything seemed fine until, after a while, Cody, crying and upset, stomped back into the house with a bloody mark on his forehead. He explained that while they were playing the Roman game...
Wait, is Cody the one that's interrogated? No, probably not. There'd be a better picture of him, right?
Game based on the Percy Jackson movies. Dominic...
Percy Jackson books.
Accused Cody of playing unfairly and had hit himself, then Cody, in the head with a brick in anger before running off towards the ravine.
It must be him.
Cody had tried following Dominic but couldn't find him, and so returned to the house to get Rebecca, who in turn called her mother for help. As Rachel explains,
there's a bit of distance between my parents' house and my grandparents' house in the country, and there's this huge ravine that runs more than the length of the property. Enormous ravine. So I said, Mom, why don't you stop the car halfway between our houses, and my friend and I can go like walk along the side of the ravine and see if we see Dominic. And my mom was like, yeah, okay.
Smart.
So she dropped us off, and we did that.
After letting Rachel and her friend out, Julie met up with Rebecca and Cody near the house, and the four kids and Julie began searching, questioning Cody on which direction Dominic had run and how badly he thought Dominic was injured.
I remember immediately noticing that Cody had blood on his face. Not a lot, just some like speckles on his face.
It wasn't his blood, it was just splattered on his face. It was Dominic's blood, saying because Cody wasn't hurt.
And he was frantic. He's saying, we got to find Dominic. I don't know where Dominic is. We got to find him. He ran off and we have to find him.
Now becoming increasingly concerned that Dominic may be more gravely injured than previously thought, Julie attempted to calm Cody, who was still quite upset, and had him guide them to the last spot Dominic was seen.
It's really hard to put this into perspective, but my mom knew Cody. She knew him very well. She knew his cognitive delays very well, his maturity, all that, she knew him, and she kind of knew how to work him, if you will, so she told him, you need to help us find him. Like, where is he? Let's go find him.
I'll use like big, simple words.
And Cody said, okay, all right, okay. I think he went this way. So he takes us to the lower part of our property behind the house and straight into the ravine. Now, there were all sorts of game trails that went down into the ravine, but it was very steep. It's this big incline, and it was in August. So the weeds they're like neck high in this ravine, nettles, all sorts of weeds. But we're down there and we're trying to get like to some sort of path. And my mom stops all of us and she starts pleading with Cody. And she starts saying, Cody, all the weeds down here are still high. None of them have been knocked down. Nobody has walked through here. It's impossible for Dominic to be over here. It's not possible. Where is he? And Cody's saying, I don't know. And my mom says, Cody, we can help him. It's okay. Just take us where he is. We can help him. It's okay. You just have to get us there.
So she's kind of assuming that
this interaction,
Cody did something.
I saw just a shift or a flip in Cody. And he
said,
okay, all right, I'll take you to him.
Oh, wow.
And he leads us out of the ravine.
Well played, Mom.
And all the way to the very end of our property, back into the ravine.
Rachel took this opportunity.
So did the mom just kind of assume that Cody did something to Dominic and was like hiding him potentially? Like he like very heavily injured Dominic or something like along the lines of that? Huh.
To call her father to bring him home to help. And after doing so, a thought occurred to her.
I turned to my mom and I said, should I call 911? And my mom was panicked and choked up, and I don't think she really said anything back to me, but I took that as like, this is bad.
Because I knew something was wrong. He had blood all over his face, like splattered.
We have to call 911. So I called. My little brother is missing. I think he's hurt. This is our address. We're trying to find him. And the phone call was really quick. And so that at that point, police were on their way. Then we get to the second area, and Cody leads us down. It's him. He goes first, and then me, and then my technically younger sister, my twin sister. And I'm following in the water. There's this curve in front of us, and there's a down tree in line over top of this curve. I watch him duck under it and get out of sight. And I remember as I'm running through the water, I had my boots on, like cowgirl boots. So they were like filling with water as I ran. So I lagged behind him a little bit. And then I put my hand on this tree and I ducked underneath of it. And as I came up and I was rounding the corner at the same time,
She remembers this very well.
I saw Dominic, this young boy. He was laying face down in the water. And Cody is just standing next to him like, here he is. What do I do now?
What the fuck? Oh, that's so weird. Just like, here he is.
And I just start screaming at him as I'm trying to run over there.
And I'm screaming at Cody to get Dominic, pull him up out of the water, and because he was face first.
And so Cody listened to me, and he reached down and he grabbed like a fistful of Dominic's shirt, of the back of his shirt, and kind of picked him up by his shirt and just kind of like tossed him onto the bank. Like he didn't really
that's so weird,
want to touch
dude.
him, or he didn't know what to do.
That's so weird. Oh, what is that like? It's not like is that what sociopaths are? People who like can't feel empathy or anything for. It's not like. I feel like it's a sociopath. I don't know.
Him up, and he wasn't really gentle, which kind of irritated me.
So I run over. I throw myself down on my knees.
Took Dominic over, and by then Becca's next to me, my sister. And he had a big gash on his head, nice big open cut, and a cut on his lip, and he was all scratched up. And
he was just blue in the face and just very obviously beaten, you know. And because of the way that Cody moved him, his shirt was pulled up, like, so his whole torso was exposed as well. And his whole torso was blue and just very distended.
How long had it been? Jesus.
My mom is up on the, so his whole, that Cody moved him, his shirt was pulled up, like, so his whole torso was exposed as well. And his whole torso was blue and just very distended.
Oh, I know, like, bodies in water can just, like, especially dead bodies in water obviously can, they can deteriorate, like, quick. And oh god, it's so it could get gross.
My
super
mom
quick.
is up on the ledge of the ravine. She's still up top, but she can kind of get to the edge and see us. Like, we were almost in like a clear spot, so she could see us. And she's wailing and screaming and telling my sister and I to do CPR. And now we were 11. We had no idea. My sister tried. She tried to give him a breath and was trying to push on his chest. And I don't know how long I let her do that before I grabbed her by her shoulders. And of course I'm crying and I can't really even speak, but I grabbed her by her shoulders and I just shook my head like, no, just stop. Like, there's nothing here.
Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Don is currently rushing out of the
that could be, that's traumatic, dude. That's so traumatic.
Talking to Rachel on the phone, and decides to call for reinforcements. He tells detectives,
I went out the door and I started getting a bad feeling about it at that point. So I called my dad and hoping he was home, and he was. So I called him and asked him if he could go over there because, you know, he's a few hundred yards away instead of, 25 minutes.
Mick Kuhlman, the children's grandfather, immediately makes his way over to his son's house and finds his family in a complete panic.
And at this point, the police showed up. They were there. So I walked up to them and I said, I'll show you where he is.
What was Cody saying at the time that you guys found Dominic face down?
stuff like, Dominic, no, like, how could this happen? He started saying stuff like, come back, please, come back, and...
That's after your grandpa got there?
I think he said...
I wonder what he died from. Was it head trauma?
The Lord helped him a couple times.
I know one of my aunts told the police officers that they had to get Cody out of there before The men showed back up before my father and my father's friend got back. She said, you need to get Cody out of here. And I mean, it was entirely obvious that he had done it. You know, he had the blood on his face and everything.
It was at this point that Dawn arrives home.
So then I hurried, you might say, flew home pretty fast, and by the time I got there, there was a couple of sheriff's cars and a couple of other vehicles. I didn't really pay attention to most of them. I just rode down front and parked the bike and then walked back where Rachel was, and she said that Dominic was gone and they couldn't bring him back. And then I was looking around trying to kind of, it really didn't sink in. So I was trying to talk to her, and then the rest of my family walked up, and as they were walking up, and then it was pretty obvious what happened, or at least the end result was that Dominic was gone.
Okay.
As most of the family stood in heartbroken silence in the yard, police began the exhaustive process of organizing and cataloging the various points of the crime scene. Officer Jeff Kilpack slid down the muddy banks of the ravine to stand next to Mick Coolman and Cody, the only two who remained next to Dominic's body. According to this Harrison County Police report, the officer could see a small boy lying on his back with his feet in the water. He could also see that his face was bloody and that his body was muddy. He was motionless and his color was blue. He checked the body for any signs of life, but the body was cold and moved as he shook it, as if the body had already gone into rigor. He noted
Was that like the same day? Is this like all in one day? Like he dies and then they find him later that day? Did it set in that quickly?
Which were no longer bleeding.
Or no, wait. No, yeah, I think it was.
The report
right?
also states that Cody was crying hysterically and said, "We were playing bricks." Mick asked him, "Did you do this, Cody?" And Cody began to scream and cry even harder. Not only would a little boy not have the strength to inflict the severity of damage found on his body, but it seems he may not actually have been the kind of difficult child the Coolmans had expected. When discussing why Dominic's mother placed him in foster care, Julie explains how her experience with the little boy differed.
So why was he taken away from his biological mom?
I don't know the exact answer. I don't know.
They don't tell you that?
They just say that parental rights were severed, and I don't really, like this last one, I had Dominic, and I thought, why is he in foster care? And I was told she put him in foster care because she needed help. So I just thought, wow, that's really...
And she told you that?
I don't know, the caseworker did. I was told that he could, cuss like a truck driver, bites, kicks, screams.
Dominic?
Attacks you. And I thought, oh, great, When I had him, the only thing we were working on with him, he never did any of that stuff to me. Cody said he called him an a-hole. And I'm like, well, what were you doing, And I wasn't doing anything. I was playing a game or whatever it was. And I'm like, well, I told Dominic, you can't say that word. It's bad. You have to go stand in the corner. And he'd go stand in the corner. I'm sorry, Judy. And then he would say things that we were working on. He'd say, oh, my God. And I'd say, I just talked to my husband, like, he's finally got that figured out. You don't say, oh, my God. Say, oh, my gosh, it sounds better. He was quick, and I was telling my husband, he's really smart. This kid is smart. And he'd say, like, me and so-and-so. And I'd say, you don't talk like that. That's not how you speak English. You say, like, Rachel and I go out and play. Or we were working on simple things like that. None of it was cussing or kicking, but he did have to be restrained Thursday, I was told, in school. He tried to fight and kick somebody. And wow, I thought, okay, so how's he going to be? But my brother was the bus driver. He said he was fine in the car. He came home, he was fine. I've never seen any aggression from this little boy, none.
As Julie gives her account, her palms are down, which indicates confidence in what she's saying.
Oh my God.
In addition, her nonverbal and verbal timing are well aligned, which further indicates that she's likely being truthful. She may have considered the behavior she observed to be normal for a child Dominic's age. It's interesting that she's covering her mouth when talking about his school restraint. This is a sign of discomfort, which is to be expected from an adult who has come to care about a child. The thought of him being physically restrained would likely be disturbing for her, since she hadn't encountered any issues with him at home. However, it's important to note that he had only been in the home for a few weeks, and many children with behavioral issues are able to keep it together, so to speak, for the first few weeks in a home. This is generally referred to as the honeymoon phase of placement. This happens much of the time in foster care or residential placement until the child feels safe enough to drop their guard and express themselves in a way that is normal to them. It seems Dominic was starting to feel safe and secure in his new home environment, and his foster family was starting to work on helping him improve his behavior. Whatever the reason for Dominic's placement, those around him all seemed to agree that he was, at heart, a very sweet little boy, full of affection. Obviously, officers decided that Cody needed to come in for questioning. After securing Cody in the patrol car, Mick told the officers that he suspected Cody may have been the one to hurt Dominic. Officer Kilpack then instructed the rest of the Kuhlman family, as well as Rachel's friend Dylan and his father, to follow them to the police station as soon as they were able to be interviewed. As Rachel described,
I don't know what order all of this happened, but I know we went inside and I got myself cleaned up. I was covered in mud, head to toe. So I got myself cleaned up. I got my sister cleaned up, and they had us write a statement. And they said, just write down everything everything that happened that you can recall to the best of your ability. And then we went to the police station, and it was like my whole family there. Because my dad showed back up. So my parents were there, my dad's friend, my friend, both of my grandparents, a bunch of us were there. And we were there the entire night. They interrogated all of us. I know it was really hard on my mother.
Julie Kuhlman, the foster mother who would sadly pass away just 2 years after this tragic event, was beyond heartbroken at this time. As the family sat in the waiting room at the police station, various family members took turns consoling her, as in the many years of caring for foster children, and even specializing in difficult children with behavioral problems, nothing like this had ever happened.
What did you think about him screaming like he was?
I was freaked out.
Have you ever done that before? Start really screaming?
Mm-hmm. Well, sometimes when he gets aggressive, my mom will restrain him so he doesn't hurt anyone.
Restrain
and he'll,
her?
Moan and growl at her and, just...
Did he do that at that time?
Mm-mm. He was crying and he wasn't being aggressive towards us.
Meanwhile, Cody, who had been hysterically inconsolable just minutes before being put in the patrol car, is sitting in a detective's office, remarkably unfazed all of a sudden. The following never-before-seen interrogation has been analyzed by a licensed professional counselor and a licensed attorney. As you'll see, Cody's strange comments and bizarre antics are just beginning.
It was pretty funny. But then one night I actually saw it. I was like, oh! I think it just went past my face. I flipped out. I woke up and then he jumped when he saw it. Everyone was freaking out. They thought it was a ghost. Then it was gone. Yep.
It seems as though this officer has essentially been tasked with
yeah, he doesn't
the
fucking
role
care.
of babysitter for Cody until another member of law enforcement is available to question him. Hence, answering his phone instead of making an effort to build some rapport.
I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't think, this guy's not the detective. He's just some cop.
Or with Cody.
Okay, all right, thank you. Bye.
If you ask me, it's getting colder and colder now.
Yeah, I didn't.
I'm twisting up my legs to keep them warm. Bursting out my hands. That's better. There was an ice cream cone side bug, though, that was kind of weird. It looked exactly like an ice cream cone. Yet I did not understand.
What is that from?
It takes aim, and it shoots. I basically had to go through a lot of ice cream to get through. I had to do ground smash, punching, good grief.
I have no idea what he's talking about. I feel like it's a video game, but I don't know.
Somewhat.
Coffee.
More coffee? Really? You just drank all that?
Yeah.
You just drank all that? Good grief.
Good
I'm a
grief.
coffee drinker. What's that?
Whoops.
Yes.
He sits huddled in the chair, prattling on about his strategy in the Wreck-It Ralph video game on the
Wreck-It
Nintendo
Ralph.
DS to the detective, who sits in stony silence except when talking to other officers and takes phone calls without hesitation.
He really doesn't like him.
I know exactly why you drink coffee now. But lucky for me, I don't need coffee at night. I stay up without the meds. If I don't take my meds, then I stay up.
What meds are you taking?
Awesome. Thank you.
I could do it for an
You got plenty of water?
I'm good. But did you need more water?
No, it's all right.
Okay.
Besides, I don't need to get more water, whereas I'm going to need to go to the bathroom.
Sure.
Hello, how's it going?
Good.
Good, I'm Laura. I'm with the DCI. We're trying to hurry to get somebody with you. I know you've been waiting around a long time.
Mostly.
Yeah, you doing okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? You hungry?
Here we go again. You just made me hungry again. Just like me. Every time when someone says something about food, I get hungry.
So you are hungry?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What do you want to eat?
I've already had I already had
Candy bar. Just had one of both.
Oh, okay. Awesome. That's good.
That's about all we
Is that your favorite?
How old is this
Chicken
guy?
candy bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
What
well,
happens
we'll
when he gets charged for murder?
be right with you, okay? I think
Is it like
someone's gonna
juvie or
come in
something?
and-
Oh boy.
I'm a little confused on how that works.
Hungry again. Just what I need.
What are you gonna do?
If Cody's foster family's suspicions are to be believed, Cody, a 17-year-old,
17.
has just caused the death of his 5-year-old foster brother.
He acts like he's
Yet
like
he
8.
sits here mere hours later,
17, wow.
talking non-stop about a video game. This is
He
extreme.
is very emotionally, like, I guess, yeah, not physically, but like very emotionally stunted.
Bizarre behavior, and in our exclusive interview with Rachel, she's able to shed a bit of light on his background.
Cody lived with us for, I want to say 3.5 years. He was one of our longest kids that we had live with us. He was very cognitively delayed, exceptionally so. I remember my parents estimating that his mental age, if you will, was probably around 6 or 7. He was intelligent, but he was very immature, very childlike, had very childlike interests, and his temperament was very volatile.
What happens when he like turns 8? I wonder what happens when he turns like 18. Is he supposed to? I don't know how foster homes work. Like once you turn 18, are you supposed to leave the foster home? God, man, that's so weird. When you turn 18 in, I can't type, a foster home. You're allowed to stay in foster care until you're 21. Okay. After you're 18, you can leave when you want. The agency is supposed to check out where you will be living once you leave. Interesting. Huh. They probably like get a job, start making some money, start looking for an apartment, etc., etc. Huh. They give them 3 years.
I've heard chickens before. We had one kid that would stomp on them.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's what Cody did. He'd usually throw it in the ravine.
At the time, detectives didn't know the extent of Cody's mental issues and could only be disturbed by his behavior. It was at this point they placed him under arrest, though it appears they did so as calmly and gently as they could so as not to upset him too much. This seemed to work, or perhaps it was just that Cody didn't really grasp the situation, evident by his reaction to the detective reading him his Miranda rights, where Cody excitedly interjects that he'd heard it before on an episode of Batman.
I've heard someone say this. You have the right to remain silent. That means you do not have to say anything. Anything you say will be, can and will be used against you in the court of law. I've read that actually on Batman before.
For minors in Iowa, both the right to remain silent and the right to counsel can be voluntarily waived if a parent or guardian has been notified of the arrest and interview, which is the case for Cody as he is over the age of 16. However, the court will still evaluate statements made by a minor to determine whether they're admissible. Factors that come into play include the opportunity for the child to consult with a parent, guardian, or lawyer, the child's age, level of education, level of intelligence, and whether or not the child was advised of their constitutional rights. Some of this changes depending on how the minor is eventually charged, such as being tried as an adult, but that happens well after the interrogation and is handled by the court. The two investigators begin the interview, chatting with Cody about his life and little details about his family, adopting light and friendly tones as they ask him questions. After a few minutes, they start by having Cody recount what happened that day before he went into the house to get Rebecca.
Dylan, Rachel, and Miss J. I forgot that Dylan was there. Anyway, Dylan's dad and Dawn just went on the bike ride, so Dylan's dad took Miss J's bike. They were all somewhere far away.
You decided to go play in the ravine?
No, we were right beside the ravine.
Then you say, what do you mean, you and
Dominic?
Okay.
The female investigator is actually an agent with Iowa's Division of Criminal Investigation, a highly elite program that runs statewide
I bet they put her in there just because like he's underage and shit. He might feel more comfortable around her. I don't know.
The major crime unit. As she leads the interrogation, you'll notice she spends most of it sitting in the confession pose. It's important to know that as humans, we naturally mirror body language when we're engaged in conversation with others. And our body language can affect our openness and mood.
That makes sense.
This officer...
I have heard that before, that you can kind of like copy other people's sitting patterns that are like next to you just without even realizing it.
...is taking advantage of this by modeling the confession pose in an attempt to get Cody to join her in the pose that is most likely to elicit honesty.
That's interesting.
And a confession from a suspect.
See, we were playing Roman, like Greek mythology. Sure.
He does have his legs crossed.
Here's a little clue for you. Here's a little Greek thing, but it's just a little starter, so that way I can calm down. What has 4 wings and has a really, and is red, and yet it is one of Hades' minions?
Cerberus?
Starts with an F.
I don't fucking know.
I don't know. What?
Fury.
Fury, oh.
That's the one that actually got Percy.
Okay.
I hate that thing.
Yeah.
4 wings, flapping separate ways.
You lost me on that one.
See, 2 wings go this way, 2 wings go that way.
Okay.
The bottom ones are...
They don't fucking give a shit. They're just letting him fucking...
This way, the top ones go that.
Oh, God, it's so...
Back
so
in the house, when I go to the town, it's you
and
Dominic and anybody else home?
Only Peanut was in the house, though.
Whose idea was it to go outside?
Miss J. Right before she leaves, she wanted me and Dominic to go play.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to play. It was a very long time when she was gone. So that's when we started playing the Roman game.
And how do you play Roman game?
Basically, I'm Greek, right?
Okay.
He's Roman. He doesn't know how to sword fight, so I tried to teach him.
Mm-hmm.
He's like this. No, I'm gonna worry about myself. He's basically saying that he's invincible.
So what was he using? He was Roman.
Well, Romans have imperial gold sabers in Greek mythology.
Okay.
And Greek has crystal bronze. So it's kind of...
So what were you guys actually using?
Well, he had the gold, imperial gold. I had the crystal bronze. We just used invisible.
Oh, okay.
Then he picked up a stick and tried to, but I was like, it's no sticks. And he's like, all right. He throws it in the ravine. It's funny. It's funny how he goes. He's like, whoop. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, I was whoop.
All right.
Anyway, back to this.
So you guys playing like by the house, by the cars, by the animals?
There's this area where Rachel and Peanut and Truman made this. Truman is their cousin. So if you want me to tell you about him right now, I can.
We'll get to him in a little bit, but keep going. But you guys
anyway, there's this
when do you kill him?
thing
When do you hit him with a rock
like
upside the head?
Like a barrier, a shielding.
Come on, let's get to it.
Like off of Percy Jackson, the first one. You go like this to open it. You go through, put it down. So we started playing. I was basically in the barrier because it was weak, thanks to the second movie. He got that off. And I started fighting him. And he's like, I'm going down too. Oh, he goes, Dominic. He didn't listen. Boom.
What Cody is referring to here is the old rope swing.
Movie, basically in the barrier because it was weak, thanks to second movie. He got that off. And I started fighting him. And he's like, I'm going down too. Oh, he goes, Dominic. He didn't listen. Boom.
What Cody is referring to here is the old rope swing that seems to have been tied
hard
to
to
a
follow
log
some of his
that
stories.
set out over the ravine. Investigators would note that there was an old muddy rope lying in the bottom of the ravine, but it's unclear what was done with it.
That's when he hated me.
Okay, how did that happen?
He's basically saying, I'm going on the rope. So he just steps down. I tried to get him with the sword, but basically he says, no. So we basically went swinging down pretty hard, I guess. Probably. I don't know. That's when it broke.
Did you see him get injuries to his head?
I saw blood. I was like, Dominic! He was tumbling, literally tumbling. And he splashed in the water like this, face up. I saw blood going down the river. I was like, is he injured? He gets up like this, and I saw a red streak going down his head.
That's not true.
Blood.
And then what?
I was scared. I didn't even go down. He just threw rocks, so I tried to dodge most of them, but one popped me in the nose, so that way the rest guided me in the arms and legs.
Why would he start throwing rocks at you?
This is likely Cody's attempt to explain the blood witnesses and detectives noticed on his face when Dominic was found, by insinuating that it was his own blood from the wounds Dominic had given him by pelting him with rocks.
Was there
It
any
should be noted,
wounds,
however,
though,
that
on
at
his
the time
face?
of his intake,
Yeah,
Cody
what the fuck?
didn't actually have any scratches, bruises, or injuries of any kind.
You're at the top of the ravine.
You were still on top?
Yeah. I fell down after that. So I decided to scramble because one got me in the gut, though, and it hurt pretty much. I was like,
The way Cody has phrased this further shows that he lacks the ability to be deceptive in a way that's believable due to his cognitive deficits. The account he tells sounds as if there are two young children engaging in an altercation, but it's not an even match. Cody is much bigger and stronger than Dominic. Clearly, he's completely out of touch with reality.
And Dominic was down by the water.
I was too long.
He was down in the water?
No, he grabbed the brick. I saw that. And he started running. I was hurt. I just inched over so I could peek. That way I could know what he's up to. He noticed I was gone, so he grabbed the brick and started smashing his face and started running while he's smashing. He stopped short, he gets under, starts smashing his face again while he's running. I didn't see
That doesn't make any fucking sense. What?
I didn't know.
Oh.
Why was he smashing his own?
I know he was almost to a deep spot, though.
Yeah, okay, let's get back to that. Why was he smashing his own face? What?
Knew that.
Excuse me?
I don't know what to do.
What kind of dumbass excuse?
So I just went to grab Peanut, and she called Miss J.
Alibi bullshit.
And she got home. When she got home, everyone started looking.
The investigators listened patiently to Cody's Percy Jackson-laced explanation for a few more minutes.
Dude.
But both
Bro's
know by
waffling.
this point that little Dominic's brutal injuries could not have been self-inflicted, as Dominic had sustained massive blunt force trauma to his face.
He couldn't do it to
suffering
himself.
multiple fractures and broken
He's too
teeth.
small.
Detectives also have the statements gathered from every other family member before Cody's interview, stating that
Cody's
everyone
fucking weird,
believed Cody
man.
had
He
done
did it. He
something
did
to
it.
Dominic
For
to
sure.
cause his
He fucking did
injuries.
it.
For example, this is what Don, the foster father, said when asked directly.
What do you think happened?
Oh boy.
Well, Cody's had a tendency in the past to lose his temper and be mean to people. And I know that he has a tendency to play. I mean, we don't let him play rough video games.
He played a little too hard.
Or watch really, rough movies or WWF or something like that, because he doesn't seem to know the difference or realize, arms can be broken by just goofing off. I have no reason to think anybody in my family lied to me, so I think Cody probably lost his temper, and I don't know Dominic well enough to, I don't even care at this point who started it. I guess it doesn't matter. But
With these facts in mind, the investigators began to press Cody
Yeah,
a
they're
little
fucking
harder
leaning
and try
in,
to
dude. They're leaning in, man. They are at his face.
coax him back into
Jesus.
reality.
Where's the body language on that?
You and I both know that's not really what happened, is it?
It is.
Okay.
How
Stop being
dare you?
Such negative.
Well, Cody, you know what we do for a living? We're officers, okay?
I
We
know
do
what
this
you
all the
are.
time. What is that?
Really, do I have to say it? I'm not no jail person.
I'm not no jail person.
Or maybe in
What the
jail
fuck?
clothing right now, but I'm not a person that needs to be in jail.
Yeah, what about juvie?
Okay,
What
when
about a
they
juvie
go
person?
into the scene and they find this
I'm not a criminal.
Okay. Nobody accused you of being a criminal, okay?
That's basically what you're saying.
Do you know what I think is important here, Cody?
That's not what we're saying.
Cody, do you know what I think is important here? So when I was sitting here listening to you tell your story, I could tell that you're sad and that you're sorry that this happened tonight, right? I could tell that. Okay? We know that.
It's intriguing to note that the moment they call him out and show they don't believe him, he barriers up with his arm and leg. Though we know Cody has some serious mental health issues, it's still his automatic reaction and goes to show how innate these kinds of behaviors are.
I think what could really help. And
Yeah, he's
probably
definitely
help
someone you can read very well off of body
kinda
language.
Just let it all go.
Doesn't hide his
Just
emotions
let
very
it all
easily.
out. And all that pressure and that weight.
There is no weight. I have no weight on it anymore. I already laid it all out. I just told you everything I could about what happened. Why do you need more from that?
Just because we need to make sense of the situation. And some of the things you're telling us makes absolute perfect sense. But some of it doesn't fit. And we're just trying to get.
He plays baseball.
I understand.
What do you think I meant? He has a strong arm for batting, strong arm for pitching. Why doesn't that make sense?
Why would he do it to himself? But why would he do it to himself?
Obviously, he can hit hard with a brick. I'm not saying that any of this is wrong. But right now, what you guys are trying to make me do, it's basically wrong. Okay? Just gonna make me mad.
For a bit of context on these last couple statements, it seems Cody is referring to whether or not Dominic was actually strong enough to hurt himself with a brick. It comes out of nowhere, but may indicate where Cody's mind is at this point in time.
We're not trying to make you do anything. We're not trying to make you feel angry.
Well, you are.
I know you cared about Dominic. He was your buddy, your play buddy, your Greek mythology buddy, right?
Didn't know much about Greek mythology.
But he wanted to. He followed you around.
Mostly, yeah.
Okay. So I know you cared about him, and he obviously looked up to you. Right? And I know that 5-year-olds can be a little pain sometimes following you around.
Actually, no, that's not what the pain was.
What was the pain?
Well, first off, he may have been good at pitching, but still it hurts.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. Nobody wants to get hit with rocks or anything. It's not pleasant.
Then why would he hit himself? I do not know. Okay?
Okay. So what I was telling you before is, so when our crime scene team people go down there, what are they going to tell us when they scrape the skin cells off the bricks and the rocks and the sticks? Is there going to be anything from Cody on those sticks, rocks, bricks? Any of your skin cells gonna be on Dominic?
Excuse me? I obviously touched him. I have been doing that for a long time.
Here he is making a statement. An individual with confidence in their statements will place their palms down. Cody has his palms up. Showing a lack of confidence in what he's saying is the reason they might find his DNA on Dominic.
Come on.
This position would be one of pleading to be believed, not a position one would typically make if they were certain of what they were saying.
Him very nicely.
Yes, that's all I ever done. I don't kill. Stop blaming me for murdering.
Hey, nobody said anything about murder.
Typically, when an individual is innocent, they become angry when falsely accused, while a guilty party will stay calm and try to manipulate their way out of it. The luxury of being out of control and angry isn't something they can afford, as they need the officers to like them.
I don't think he has the mental capacity for that. I don't think he's like smart enough to try and, you know, stay calm and cool and calculate his way out of this.
People are typically more focused on the manipulation of the police officers, and anger doesn't normally make people like other people. However, Cody isn't this sophisticated.
Yeah.
He isn't trying to be liked or trying to manipulate the officers. He doesn't
he might be trying to be.
that
I think he is kind of trying a little bit in some way, like his made up story, but like, yeah, not on the on like any deeper levels.
Okay. That's what it basically sounds like. I'm not a killer.
We're trying to figure out what happened to him. Okay? You were with him, and you're the one that can tell us what happened.
It's interesting to note here that Cody's anger at the accusation is not a typical reaction seen from guilty suspects.
Yeah.
Excuse me? How am I supposed to know how to tell it? I'm not that clever.
What do you mean?
Who is the killer that actually decides? Anyways, there have been men down there before.
Down there.
He's saying someone. Now he's saying someone else killed Cody.
Yeah, lots of people down there.
Who have you seen down there?
Well, I know I saw one guy, but I didn't know who he was. He had a cloak.
What the fuck?
A cloak?
Say lots of people, huh? How many people have you seen? One guy.
Well, just like Harry Potter, except with a hood.
Okay.
I didn't understand that.
How long
We saw him before. I don't know, me and Peanut and Gage. There was a kid named Gage. Sorry about not saying that. Anyways, there were, even Will was there back then. But Peanut, Gage, me, Ben, and Will.
All saw the cloaked man.
Okay, when was that?
About, I don't know, probably about, probably a long time ago, long.
Not recent. Not since
I've seen, but one time when I went on in the ravine on my own, I also saw the same cloaked figure, except inside the ravine, picking up pipes and storing them in his bag. And there was also a gun down there. He picked up that and put it in his bag. It had bullets.
Yeah.
I know that. Because I checked before. I've seen that gun before. I was like this. I hid. He looked my way, and I was like this.
God.
I didn't tell anyone. Didn't want to. I was too scared.
Sure.
But my guess, so he was there. I didn't know. But I saw footprints. Why the cops, yeah, right when the cops came and they were grabbing me, I noticed footprints. I looked at the corner of my eye and I saw footprints, big ones. Same exact size as the feet.
Same exact size. Yeah, you could tell, huh?
I don't know who he is or where he came from, but I think he hurt Dominic.
Oh, no.
That would be my guess. He probably.
Well, what are you waiting for, man? Get the description out there. Get the description out there.
He's a fighter. I know that.
He's a fighter.
Because I usually just play around and wrestle with him, but he's pretty strong with me. He just pushes me down real hard.
Okay, you just said Dominic doesn't drown that easily. Are we going to find out that he drowned?
That would be my guess.
Okay.
Because
Have you ever seen him drown before?
well,
How did he
doesn't
kill him?
know how
It must have been blunt force trauma, right? And he just fell over in the river.
to swim.
I don't think he like held him down. That'd be a little too tapped.
I know that. I hate that cloak figure, whoever he is. I hate him for killing Dominic. If he did.
If he
It
did.
seems Cody slips up when he says he doesn't drown that easily. He then attempts to cover his tracks by saying,
God, did he drown him? Holy fuck. I thought it might have been just an accident. Like they were playing, he kind of got a little too aggressive / angry at Cody or Dominic about something in the game, and he just kind of hit him upside the head, and then immediately just kind of realized he did it too hard. But I guess this, holy shit, it might have been like intentional. Holy fuck.
that he hates him for killing Dominic. In addition, his statement, if he did, comes across like a qualifying statement.
Yeah, if he did.
His level of deception isn't sophisticated, and it's as if it's too anxiety-inducing to fully commit to his
He's like making shit up on the fly, 100%.
story.
Do you think he did?
I think so. I saw footprints. I know I did. I'm the one with details. Miss J knows that I talk. Because every time I find stuff, even out of the corner of my eye, I find stuff that no one else sees.
According to psychologists, people who are faking psychosis will say things like, I see and hear things that aren't really there.
The classic.
But most people that actually have psychosis or delusions just assume they notice more or hear more, that there's an explanation, and that others just don't notice it, especially when they're young and new to the diagnosis.
Interesting.
They have no idea they see or hear things that aren't there.
I think they're just more
This is a
aware.
strong indication that Cody does, in fact, suffer from psychosis.
Even in the
Have you seen that
overgrown.
guy in other places other than
Maybe the
New
cloak
England?
guy isn't real.
No.
Maybe.
Wait, yeah. Cornfield once. But right by, which is close to our house. Because I was running away before and I saw the cloak figure watching me. He's like eyeing me. I just booked it. He noticed that I was running away. He smirked. I noticed that. I was like, it's creepy. So I just ran off.
What the fuck?
The second time I ran away, I saw him again, smirking.
Oh, sure.
I didn't understand. So I shot at him. He noticed I saw him.
You what? Hold up, what? Wait, you had a gun? You shot at the cloak dude? Random cloak dude?
He ran. He literally ran. I didn't catch his face, though. I know one thing. He had discolored eyes. Really weird.
I feel like this has to be like inspired by some video game or movie that he recently played or something. Like the cloaked figure is like a villain in a game or a movie or TV show or whatever that he saw. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
2 different colored eyes.
Cool.
You must have been pretty close to him.
Yeah, I was running to the side. I noticed him in the forest. I saw 2 different colored eyes. I was like,
Huh?
I think one was green. I know one was green. But the other one, I'm not so sure.
Okay.
Around this time, the detective interviewing the rest of the family asked Don Kuhlman about any strange men he may have seen on his property. And while he had nothing more to give them on strangers in the ravine, he did have a very interesting detail for detectives about Cody.
No cloak figure?
Cody's a habitual liar.
Yeah, no fucking
Nothing
shit,
out of
dude.
His mouth is true. It takes a long time to get to the bottom. But when it finally does, then usually you can see in his eyes and his face and his mannerisms, and finally you kind of feel that realize he's finally telling the truth. And he'll blame everybody for else, try to make up stories, and none of them jive and none of them match. And I mean, when we were on vacation, he's got into all the little rolls kids eat.
Fruit rolls or something like that.
Yeah, like the little round cupcakes, holes.
Stealing food is a common enough behavior in children who haven't been able to trust that their needs will be provided for by the adults in their lives. It's a trauma response rooted in neglect, as well as a defense mechanism.
They eat the whole box. Well, first he said that Rachel did it, then he said Becca did it, and then he said Dominic did it, and then he said this person did it, and that person did it. And well, there was enough people home that could have done it. So I mean, that's the way he always has been. Like me, stand in the corner and write some sentences or something, and eventually he gets sick of it and tells the truth.
It seems that Cody is used to lying in an attempt to stay out of trouble, which, like stealing food, is a protection mechanism. While
makes
this
sense.
is common in all children,
Yeah.
it's especially persistent in children who suffer from neglect and have experienced physical violence as a response of having done something a parent or guardian considers to be wrong. Parents who behave this way toward children are often inconsistent in determining what makes them angry on any given day. As a result, children who experience this type of treatment cannot clearly establish what is right and what is wrong in the eyes of the parent or guardian. It's important to acknowledge that Cody likely learned this behavior prior to coming to live with his foster parents, and this analysis does not reflect on them.
The worse the problem is, the longer it takes. This, and Dad will never tell the truth, at least not all of it, but he might. I don't.
With this in mind, the two exhausted detectives begin to wrap up for the night, as it's now about 2 a.m.
Oof.
The female agent leaves the room to meet up with the other detective who is interviewing the rest of the Kuhlmans, leaving the male detective to wrap up with Cody.
It's getting later.
What time is it?
2 o'clock.
You mind if I say this word? Crap.
No, he didn't just say that.
I'm not even gonna get enough sleep, am I?
Fucking the males do. Oh god, they are so pissed off, man. Just kind of being around this kid, you can kind of tell that he is very annoying. It's kind of like bringing up maybe like their, I don't know, flashbacks of someone they knew in high school that they might have bullied or made fun of. You know, they're kind of holding it back a little bit. They don't want to rip into this kid because they're, you know, they're mature now. But holy fuck, dude, you could tell they really do not like being around this guy.
I don't know. How well do you think you're going to sleep tonight? Think you'll sleep pretty good?
No. I guess not taking my meds will just keep my mind occupied. Anyway.
Excellent.
Yeah, I usually just play around. That usually keeps my mind off, or read a book, or even play video games.
Hell yeah.
But still, it will take my mind off anything.
Yeah.
I'll try to get my mind off of it. I try and try. That's why I'm reading right now.
Sure.
Accidents have occurred when family members have borrowed or loaned a firearm and returned it.
Holy shit. What had happened with Dominic tonight?
Holy
It's
shit.
hard to forget. It's gonna be,
If you ask me,
it's gonna be a load.
how many times have you seen a child be murdered?
What the fuck?
More than once.
Okay, so then it could be anything. It could be anyone that is a child murderer. Yeah, possibly a lot of suspects.
Not really.
Well, I do know this.
What?
I think possibly the other eye of the other guy was possibly brown.
Oh, here we go. Here we fucking go.
I don't think we're gonna focus on his.
Shut up about the
tonight.
eye. Oh
Yeah,
my
not
God.
for now. But if I see him again, I'm gonna shout, if you're there, I'm gonna kill you.
You know?
Oh god, it's so cringe, dude.
know
It's
this
so
now.
cringe.
I have a feeling we won't run into him.
Huh?
I have a feeling that I won't be running into him, so.
I have a feeling that I might,
You might.
because so far in my life, when I was with Miss J, I've been running into him for long.
Yeah, sure you have, man.
She kind of show up when bad things happen.
Mm-hmm. He shows up every time.
Every time.
Right outside the house, in the woods, hidden. Except I could see him.
Right.
Pathetic hider, if you ask me, but I just couldn't. I didn't understand that. So maybe he was good at hiding, but not to my eyes.
Sure.
I don't know what's going on.
But this time he was around when something really, really bad happened.
Yep. Something that's not supposed to happen.
It wasn't supposed to. But it did happen. But it wasn't supposed to. I know. It wasn't supposed to.
Yet I saw footsteps go farther down the ravine. What I'm gonna do is try to track him down a little bit, see where he hides. If I find something, I'll tell you. Okay? Because there might be more information on him. I might find out where he lives. Who knows?
Like I said, I'm not too no.
Whoever this guy is, I'm gonna see what I can do. I have an eye for detail.
Sure you do, man. If only this officer could just say what he wants to say. Holy fuck, dude.
Please don't tell Miss Jade this,
So
otherwise she's gonna go out of whack.
So interesting.
I think she has enough
To worry about.
Enough to worry about.
Herself with right now.
Fucking dead kid,
Exactly.
dude.
That's the reason why I don't want to worry her anymore.
Yeah, you've done
That's
enough.
the reason why we
You've done
shouldn't
enough.
tell her this. Otherwise, she'll be much more worried.
You shouldn't tell her what.
This guy, the guy I'm telling you.
I won't bring him up at all.
I don't think anyone should.
Oh my god, dude.
But I will try to find something about him.
Okay, yeah, you're an inside. You're an inside guy.
I know, I'm just saying, if there's anything else that I can do that I can find out about him, I'll try to see if I can.
No, you know, the only thing else that you can do is, well, I think all the valuable information can come from Cody.
Hey.
But it's up to you.
I already told you as much information as I can.
Yeah, sure, buddy. Have you?
I don't know.
I don't know.
What, you think I have some stored up?
Hey, I ain't mad at you. No worries. I do, though. Yeah, I do think so. But that's just me.
Hey, I have a lot of memory here, but not a lot. Enough to actually memorize everything.
Right.
May have a juggernaut memory in here, but
A juggernaut memory.
has seen me solve puzzles like none other.
Right.
And she's like this. Because I was playing the game that was a puzzle solver, and she's like this. How'd you get through that so fast? Well, she's like this. I'm a puzzle solver. What do you expect?
I'm a puzzle solver.
That I have right now that I can't quite put together. And it's up to you. But my question is, because I don't know you that well. I just know you a little bit.
I know. I can understand that.
And what I do know of you, I mean, you're a pretty laid back kid. You're funny. Got a huge imagination. Very active, you know. Yeah.
Pretty athletic at school.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the only thing that
You go to school?
I can't figure out that only you could answer for me was, you know, down there with Dominic.
Oh boy.
Was it an accident or was it on purpose?
I know it was an accident.
That's the only thing I can't figure out.
I know it was an accident. Because that rope was not, I made sure it was tight and good. I made sure the log was made sure not to be broken. I tested it, I jumped on it.
Here, the investigator has posed the alternative question, as he's given Cody two choices for what happened, one being more socially acceptable than the other. Cody plays right into his hands and chooses the more acceptable option, which is still an admission of guilt.
Yeah.
So it
was dirty. I don't know. But I know there are a lot of termites over at the house, and even house, like wood ants. Ever heard of those?
No.
Those things are everywhere in our area. So it's probably been chewed up by that. What's going on?
Don't worry about it. It's the cloak guy. He's calling.
It's probably been chewed up by those ants. Because I noticed that there were colonies of ants pouring out of the log, so I knew it was probably ants. So I know it was an accident, but Dominic didn't.
Do you find yourself thinking about death and stuff a lot?
Yeah. I think that I just keep on thinking that I might die.
That's not normal.
In a different fate that is so difficult to complicate.
As soon as the detective leaves the room, Cody makes a grab for one of the pieces of equipment lying on the table nearest him. He stares at it for a minute before seeming to come to a realization about what it could be.
Here, huh?
What do you mean?
Okay. Let's see how much you like it. Hmm?
Is he turning it off?
You really don't know what I know, huh? Okay. Let's see how it is. I won't tell you anything else now. You should record.
What?
Alright, where were we at there? And notice you're recording this.
Yeah, I record everything. That way I don't have to sit there and write all the time. We can just talk and listen.
I didn't expect you to do that.
I didn't expect you to do that. This is fucking like a Disney villain or something.
That was a recorder. I thought it was something else.
Well played, Mr. Detective. Well
I picked
played.
it up because I was wondering.
The investigator has shown signs of irritation with Cody several times previous to this most recent foot tap. His leg has been twitchy. He switched to closed-off body language and barrier positions with his leg a few times. He doesn't appear to have much internal patience with Cody's childishness and emotional ability. Externally, however, it seems he's doing everything he can to stay patient and keep Cody talking.
Well, guess what?
Come on, man, it's your job. You've gone through training for this.
I'm not telling you anything else. I don't like recorder people.
Recorder people?
I'm not much of a media person. Thank you very much.
It was at this point Cody refused to speak further with investigators, and they eventually would move him into custody for the rest of the night. Cody may not have admitted to what he'd done, but at this point it was obvious to the detectives that he had killed his foster brother.
Is he wearing a Yu Yu Hakusho shirt? It's kind of weird that I can tell that just from how blurry it is, but I feel like this looks like a Yu Yu Hakusho shirt. That looks like Kurama. It's like Yusuke down there.
Turn to the rest of the Kuhlman family for why Cody had done something like this.
Like I said, we had Cody lived with us for several years, and he was very sweet. You know, had an issue stealing things, you know, especially food, and just had weird things he would do to break the rules, but he never was malicious. It's like he had no inhibitions. He had no, self-control, but he was never malicious. You know, he was a sweet kid. And Dominic, of course, was 5. So he was just kind of really displaying a personality at that age, but he was very, very sweet. He was very cuddly, and he and Cody.
Yeah, I think I don't think Cody like killed him on purpose. That's why I was earlier when I was talking about him like drowning him. I was a little surprised by that. I don't think he did this on purpose. That'd be a little shocking.
Got along great. They played all the time.
I think it's just that his mental age was just a lot lower than his physical age was, and he just didn't realize that some of the time.
They followed each other around the house, and we all kind of commented on that they mentally seemed to be at the same level.
Yeah.
We all thought it was pretty cool, honestly, at the time, that they kind of both had a buddy.
I guess it is, yeah.
Cody seemed to genuinely adore Dominic, and he had no actual history of seriously injuring another person, either before or after.
You think he'd feel kind of sad about this then, or he might admit to it at least, but he is a habitual liar.
After being placed with the Kuhlmans. Whatever violence he displayed seemed to be confined entirely to temper tantrums, bouts of screaming and yelling. He never expressed a desire to hurt anyone else. Detectives found themselves struggling to come
prison's not going to be good for this kid.
Up with a reason for this crime, since no one had an idea for what could possibly have been Cody's motive. The rest of the family, Cody's teachers, friends of the Kuhlmans, all were at a complete loss for why.
It's an
Cody's
accident.
background may offer some insight, though it was revealed much later in the investigation. As it turns out, he allegedly witnessed physical abuse in his original home, although whether Cody was ever directly a target of this abuse is unclear. Cody reportedly cowered severely, huddling on the floor whenever reprimanded by men with raised voices, sometimes staying in a crouched position for up to 20 minutes before slowly getting back to his feet, indicating that he may have had an even more troubled past than caseworkers knew about. As well, Cody's mental challenges, such as his diagnosed ADHD, may be a result of both genetics and the substances his mother used while pregnant with him, specifically meth, which she stated at his trial was at least $20 worth every day for the first 3 months.
Christ, dude.
Prenatal meth exposure can lead to developmental...
I wonder if it's worse to do it in the early stages or the later stage. Probably the early stages, I would assume.
...delays, including cognitive impairments, problems with attention and memory, and difficulties with motor skills. Additionally, children exposed to meth in utero have an increased risk of developing behavioral issues, such as ADHD, impulsivity, aggression, and difficulty with self-regulation. In hindsight, Dominic being placed in a home with Cody may have been a disaster waiting to happen. Rachel Kuhlman, now an adult working as a highly respected Army medic despite only being in her early 20s, sums it up best.
I mean, there's so many things, that could be said that, this should not have been allowed or this shouldn't have happened. But there was no predicting this.
Right.
And there was no avoiding it. If it didn't happen that night, he very easily could have attacked Dominic another night, or he could have attacked me or my sister, or he could have never done it. But there is no knowing.
Right.
I have been under the opinion that Dominic should not have been placed with us.
Huh. Why is that?
Just because, in hindsight, it's obvious that he shouldn't have been. But again, at the time, there was no knowing. And
he'd been there for 3 years?
You can't forecast this.
Yeah.
If you thought he was odd in interrogation, just wait, because he saved his strangest story for trial. It was then that the truly ridiculous final excuse Cody gave for his actions
was it the cloak
was
man?
Revealed.
Not cloak man.
On the 5th of November 2014, Cody testified that he did, in fact, kill Dominic by smashing his face with the brick and holding his head under the water at the bottom of the ravine.
Dude.
This is obviously quite a departure from Cody's earlier statements of Dominic inflicting his own injuries and the mysterious cloaked man with one green eye, although Cody still maintains his innocence. You see, that day he claimed he didn't actually think he was killing his foster brother with a brick, but that he was slaying the goblin commander of the goblin army with a shining sword and the brick. Yes, you heard that right. A goblin commander. Cody claims he was so deep in his fantasy world at the time of the killing that he didn't even realize the person he was hurting was actually Dominic. This was also a departure from his story about the Percy Jackson game, especially since there don't seem to be any goblins in the Percy Jackson universe. Instead, Cody was now saying these were the goblins from the video game franchise, Skylanders. As bizarre as this story may seem, we asked Rachel for her thoughts.
Jesus.
Do you remember much about what was said about Cody? And, there was one time where someone, he used a defense of like, hey, there were goblins and I was trying to intervene and, all of, what do you remember? And now that you're older, what do you think about what you heard?
Oh, well, I remember it being very hushed. People did not talk about it. At least not when, I was in the room or my sister was around, people did not talk about it. It must have been maybe my parents who mentioned it. But I do remember hearing that, he was pleading insanity and that
interesting
was what he said, that he saw goblins and that he thought Dominic was some sort of monster. And it wasn't surprising that that was Cody's story. Because he was extraordinarily imaginative. He could sit down by himself and just create this huge elaborate story, and he would sit there and act it out and talk to himself and move, and he could be entertained by himself like that for hours.
It was like an escape from reality for him, I guess, just because of probably because of all the trauma he's experienced in his life. It's easy for him to escape into fantasy.
Well, okay.
And he loved video games, and he loved anything that he could explore with his imagination was something he really enjoyed. So yeah, I remember. I mean, I carried a lot of anger for a long time, so I think there was a part of me then that didn't want to believe him. But looking back on it now as an adult, I don't have any idea what he was thinking, but I do know he was extremely cognitively delayed, and he very well could have hallucinated and thought that he was fighting some sort of monster. That's not far-fetched at all.
I could honestly
However,
see it,
there is
but
an odd discrepancy about Cody's Goblin Commander story.
yeah.
At the time Dominic died in 2013, there were 3 Skylanders video games out, and they feature creatures called trolls, not goblins. Now, this is actually an important distinction because not only is it rather odd
Trolls
that
are bigger than
someone so
goblins?
obsessed with the game's mythos would get such a basic detail wrong, but this might be an indication Cody is lying. This is particularly interesting because if this is indeed what Cody is referencing in his testimony, then it couldn't have been what he was allegedly seeing in August 2013. A Goblin Commander doesn't appear until Skylanders Trap Force, the 4th game in the series, which came out on October 5th, 2014.
I mean,
only a month before Cody's testimony. Considering how many outlandish
I don't
lies
know.
Cody has told up to this point, it doesn't seem like too much of a stretch to imagine that when coming up with the latest lie, he simply incorporated details from the game he was playing at the time of his trial. This is pure speculation, mostly because we couldn't find any information on where Cody was being held before his trial, but we thought it was intriguing nonetheless. In Cody's news story, he asserted that he had been in his own world during the time of the killing, and therefore couldn't remember it at all. The defense called a psychiatrist to testify that, yes, Cody could have very well been engulfed in a highly immersive fantasy which led to an almost psychotic break, where he killed his foster brother without realizing it. Yet the prosecution called their psychiatrist to say no. Cody not only remembers exactly what he did to Dominic, but he actively lied to investigators and made up elaborate stories to hide his role in the killing.
Yeah, I believe that.
In cross-examination, Cody admitted he told different people different stories based on symbols he could see floating above their heads, which indicated whether or not he could trust them. Again, this seems suspect, as he told 3 separate lies.
It's so hard to know of which is it. Is he lying about being psychotic? Is he lying about it's because he's just such a big liar. It's so hard to tell.
The same pair of investigators within the span of a single interrogation. As is often the case, the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle of the prosecution's story and the defense's. Regardless of what was actually going through his head that day, Cody Metzger-Madsen was found not guilty by reason of insanity in November 2014.
He placed in a facility?
It seems this finding is often misunderstood. It must be established that at the time of committing the offense, due to mental disease or defect, the defendant was incapable of either knowing or understanding the nature and quality of his or her act.
No, it's not. I don't believe that. Just because of the amount of emotion he was showing when they found his the body. Wasn't he crying and freaking out? Or maybe he was just coming to I don't know. I don't know. Because he did also pick up the body, just kind of toss it aside like it was, no big deal or whatever. Oh, it's so all over the place.
Or distinguishing the difference between right and wrong. Insanity is evaluated at the time the defendant committed the offense, so a person may appear sane later and may even understand how irrational their actions were. But the question is, what was their state of mind at the time of the crime? It's also important to consider Cody's cognitive and developmental delays. It's surprising that he was found competent to stand trial, as in most states a child under the age of 10 cannot be prosecuted.
Well, physically,
since it seems
right?
that there was a consensus that his mental capacity was under the age of 10,
I don't know if
it's
that counts,
remarkable
though.
that he was able to meet the requirements for competency. And those involved believe it's likely he will spend the rest of his life in a mental health facility.
Oh, God, that's rough. Oh, that is rough, dude. I hear, yeah, those are like, from what I've heard, they can be even worse than prison. Like, I think there's a JCS video where he explains like trying to get out of, jail by pretending to be insane might not be the smartest idea. The way you listen to him and watch, you can easily tell he's a mental. The tall tales that Tony uses, the bluntest of words. It's a shame this happened. Yeah, honestly, I feel bad for both of them. Like, Dominic, obviously, for what happened to him. And then Cody, for just, like, the situation. His life, man. And leading up to that. Like, the trauma that he had experienced as a kid. His mother that gave him the, stuntness in his mental growth from doing drugs in the womb. That's just... It's sad, man. This was entirely preventable since everybody knew how impaired Cody was. Poor judgment to leave him out with partners challenging a 5-year-old. It makes sense that you trying to describe Cody as a volatile animal using teenager. They left him home unsupervised with a helpless 5-year-old. Oh, that is a good point. Yeah. Oh, that's sad. Sad story.